So this whole thing kicks off with two moments, separated by more than 30 years. In 1950, a celebrated American general dies tragically on the very land he fought to save. Then, decades later, in the 1980s, a lone Korean War veteran starts this desperate, all-consuming search. The real question is, what on earth connects these two events? Well, to figure that out, we have to go back to a moment when an entire nation's fate was hanging by a thread.
This is a story about a vow, one made in the absolute heat of battle, and the echo it created for nearly half a century. It's about a general's ultimate sacrifice, and the one soldier who simply refused to let it be forgotten.
You know, you've really got two main characters in this story. On one side, there's General Walton H. Walker, the commander of the U.S. 8th Army, a guy whose leadership literally saved South Korea from being completely wiped off the map. And on the other side, you have Kim Il-jin, a young Korean soldier who saw that sacrifice up close and made a quiet promise that would shape the rest of his life. Two men from totally different worlds whose legacies were about to become linked forever.
So, to really get the power of that promise, we first have to understand the moment of absolute sheer desperation that sparked it in the first place.
Okay, so picture this. It's the summer of 1950. The Korean War is an absolute catastrophe. In just a few months, the North Korean invasion has been so successful, it's pushed the defenders into this tiny, desperate pocket in the southeast corner of the country.
Let that sink in for a second. We're talking over 90% of the country was just gone. Defeat wasn't just some possibility. It felt like a total certainty. The government was actually thinking about going into exile. That's how bad it was.
So you gotta ask, what do you even do in a situation like that? When there's nowhere left to retreat and the enemy is closing in from all sides, what does leadership even look like? Well, for General Walker, the answer was simple, and it was brutal.
He gathered his commanders and he issued one of the most famous orders in military history. "We are going to fight and we are going to die here," he told them. "There will be no more retreat." This was a stand or die moment. This wasn't some suggestion. It was an absolute, existential command.
And just like that, that one single order created what became known as the Pusan Perimeter, the final defensive line along the Nakdong River. But it was way more than just a military strategy. It was a psychological anchor. It stopped the bleeding and gave the UN forces a chance to regroup, to hold on, and to eventually, somehow, turn the tide of the entire war.
But here's the thing. Walker's leadership didn't just save the country, it lit a fire, a profound sense of duty in one young soldier who was there to see it all happen.
See, among the Korean soldiers fighting right alongside the Americans was Kim Il-jin. He's watching these young guys from halfway across the world, fighting and dying for a country that wasn't even their own. And in that moment, seeing that shared sacrifice, he made a promise to himself. This incredible debt, it would not be forgotten.
Now, to really understand what was driving him, you have to get this really deep Korean cultural concept, Bo-eun. And this isn't just about saying thank you. No way. Bo-eun is a deep-seated moral obligation. It's the idea that you have to repay a profound debt of gratitude with action for the rest of your life. It's a duty. And for Kim Il-jin, that duty was now focused squarely on General Walker.
But here is where the story takes a tragic turn. General Walker, the man who stared down death on the battlefield, the guy who survived the war's most intense fighting, he was killed on December 23, 1950, in a roadside Jeep accident near Seoul. A hero who saved the nation, lost not to an enemy bullet, but to a random, tragic accident.
For Kim Il-jin, Walker's death didn't end his duty of Bo-eun. Oh no, it supercharged it. For the next 46 years, his entire life would be dedicated to one thing: honoring the general's memory.
But look, keeping this promise, it was anything but easy. The war ended, Korea rebuilt, and you know how it is, memories faded. The exact spot where Walker's accident happened was lost to time, buried under new development. It took Mr. Kim 3 years and 5 months of relentless, detective-level work, just poring over old maps and records to find that forgotten spot.
And once he found it, he didn't ask for help. He used his own life savings, every penny he had, to buy that land and build a monument. While the rest of the world had moved on, one man, driven by this powerful sense of Bo-eun, made absolutely sure a hero's final moments would never be forgotten again. Okay, so this is where the story gets even deeper, because it's more than just a general's action and a soldier's reaction.
It actually shows us how gratitude itself can be a powerful form of leadership.
The central theme here, the main idea, is that remembering isn't a passive thing. It's an active form of leadership. By refusing to forget, Mr. Kim was actually continuing the very leadership that General Walker started.
You see, General Walker's own leadership philosophy, which, by the way, is now the official leadership framework of the U.S. Army, was based on 3 pillars: be, know, and do. Be is all about your moral character, who you are at your core. Know is your expertise, your strategic understanding. And do, well, that's your ability to take decisive action.
And what's so incredible is that Mr. Kim's lifelong quest is the perfect echo of that philosophy. His moral character, that deep commitment to Bo-un, that was his be. His deep knowledge of history and all that tireless research, that was his know. And his decisive action, spending his life savings to build that monument, that was his do. He perfectly fulfilled the leadership principles of the very man he was trying to honor.
So what happens when a 46-year personal mission finally comes to light? Well, it transforms into something much bigger. It becomes a legacy for the future.
Mr. Kim's solitary effort eventually inspired the creation of the Walker Memorial Foundation. And this is an organization that's dedicated to turning this incredible story into active leadership education. It honors that spirit of Bo-un, and in doing so, it strengthens the U.S.-South Korea alliance, not through politics, but through shared human values like sacrifice and gratitude.
So this story isn't just about 2 men anymore. The general's vow and the soldier's echo have created this powerful, lasting lesson in leadership, in duty, and in the sheer power of remembrance for generations to come.
And that really brings us to the final question, one for you. We all face moments in our lives that feel like a last stand, right? Our own personal Nakdong River. In those moments, when it feels like everything might be lost, this whole story asks us, what's the line that you refuse to cross? What is going to be your no more retreat?